Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and yes, that's right, you read the title, you saw the thumbnail, of course, yes, and yep, this is my part 1 review of Season 12 of Futurama, yes. Now I am finally reviewing and diving into Season 12 of Futurama, and yeah, this being part 1, and yeah, because, well, since I had reviewed Season 11, I reviewed Season 11 all in one review, but this time, and just like what I did with Doctor Who, I'm doing this in 3-4 parts, you know, that whole thing. Yeah, just because... And it was kind of like a last-minute thing where it was just like, you know, I should probably do this. Yeah, and, you know, it can sometimes help, you know, and it depends. Like, if you feel as though, like, you can review an entire season or something in one review or be split in parts, you get what I'm saying, so yeah. So, in this case, for me, of Season 12 of Futurama, it's in 4 parts. So, yeah, 3-4 parts, but yeah. So, yes, So with Season 12 of Futurama, and the first episodes that I'm reviewing for Part 1 are Episodes 1 and 2. Yeah, and I did the calculations and math, and yeah, and I know exactly how, you know, and from there on, reviewing all of the episodes, you know, because with Part 1, starting with 2 episodes, then from there on, like, yeah, 3 episodes, and the last 2 episodes will, yeah, be just the 2 in one review, so you get the point. But yeah, so with the first 2 episodes of Season 12 of Futurama, Episodes 1 and 2, the One Amigo and Quids Game, well, I think so far, Season 12 seems to be yet another pretty good season for Futurama's triumphant return, and ever since, you know, the last season. Yeah, and with what I had to say about Season 11, was very positive, and if anybody wants to go check out that review. But overall, with the first 2 episodes of Season 12 of Futurama, yeah, because I think that for Season 12, it seems to be off to a pretty good start. For me, that is, since, yeah, finally now watching Season 12, and starting with the first 2 episodes, I thought that what each of the first 2 episodes had to offer, and especially because, you know, these 2 episodes, they once again center on something that we had seen before, and keeping up with what goes on with each of the characters. In this case, yeah, we get to see more of Bender and with, like, say, his family, and because, you know, I'm sure as you guys know, him having a Mexican family, and also because, you know, his connections and ties with, you know, Mexico, and not to mention his last name being Rodriguez. And in episode 2, where, yeah, we once again dive into, say, Fry's backstory when, you know, he was a kid and living in the 20th century with his family and such, and before he would find himself frozen in time, you know, that whole thing. Yeah, I just think that, you know, what the first 2 episodes had to offer so far for this new season of Futurama were pretty good. It, of course, didn't disappoint to deliver some hilarious moments, some good storytelling in these first 2 episodes, what goes on with each of these characters, and seeing as how that, yeah, in episode 1, Bender's the main focus, and although in episode 2, everybody's a big focus, Fry especially, yeah. Yeah, just overall, I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I thought what they had to offer was great, and yeah, Season 12, so far, off to a good start. Yeah. Okay, so, now, with the first things I've had to say about the first 2 episodes of Season 12 of Futurama, now out of the way, now as always for me, well, read the description / the story, and, well, starting with Episode 1, the One Amigo. So, here we go, description / the story. After Bender sells an NFT representing the concept of Bender, he feels lost and returns to his ancestral village in Mexico to rediscover himself. Yeah, so we know that, okay, of course, yeah, with reading the description / the story out of the way of episode 1, let's dive in and break down episode 1 itself, the One Amigo. So as I was saying, we know that a lot of times in Futurama itself, they would talk about certain subjects, you know, especially because, like, you know, from, say, the 20th century and 21st century, and some of them, you know, kind of feeling outdated and such. But for me personally, and when it comes to Futurama, I don't think it matters, you know. And in this case of One Amigo, yeah, definitely the NFT, which obviously you guys are aware of, yeah, when that became a thing, but it didn't take too long for the NFT to go downhill and such, and just really be nothing anymore, and being, you know, quickly outdated. So, with what the first episode of Season 12 of Futurama, you know, how it dives into the whole NFT and some of the kid characters, which, yeah, Kif and Amy's children, you know, as well as Hermes, one of his children as well. You know, they're doing some NFT stuff, and Bender becomes fascinated with this, and thus, you know, with the help of the kid characters, them starting to take pictures of Bender, and, well, them being published, and any one of them that could be sold for a penny and such, and to what Bender is wanting. And yeah, because with Bender getting caught up in the world of NFTs, creating this collection, and also the fact that many pictures that Bender takes for his NFT collection, well, a callback to various classic Futurama moments, like the many, like, wardrobes that Bender would wear, and you know this too. That's great to see. Just, yeah. But unfortunately, yeah, because well, someone had bought the entire collection of Bender's NFTs, yeah. And out of nowhere, this NFT, like, there's this NFT Hall of Fame at this Museum of Modern Art. It buys the museum buys his entire collection for an exhibit, and as I just said, the Hall of NFT Fame. Who would want to see that? NFT Hall of Fame? Me? I don't really know. But, yeah, and Bender becoming very upset by this, and this is where he would once again go through another crisis. And this has happened a good chunk of times in past episodes of Futurama, where Bender would go through a terrible crisis. In fact, the last time, as I recall, and doing a little bit of research, well, because one of the last times that something happened with Bender, and which was a good episode, was Free Will Hunting. So yeah, if anybody remembers that episode. And I think that, well, yeah, with having another moment with Bender going through a crisis and how it's done in this new episode, well, I thought it was pretty well done. And Bender just, again, going through a crisis, not knowing who he is, everything that just happened so quickly, where his entire NFT collection was snatched and bought by a modern, you know, Museum of Modern Arts, and just making it for an NFT Hall of Fame, and unfortunately, they can't get back his NFT collection now that they bought it and such. Even the kid characters, they at times explain, you know, various reasons how NFT works and doesn't work. So in the case that they cannot, and even when they try to, later on in the episode, they try to take back Bender's NFT collection. Yeah, they're unable to, so, and what happens to Bender is he disembarks the Planet Express crew for a while, and he goes back to, like I said, reading the description / the story, returning to his ancestral village in Mexico. Yep, his roots that he reconnects, and meeting various family members of his, which them being Mexican, and one of them most prominently being Doblando. Yeah, I think I got the name right. Being voiced by good old Danny Trejo. Yeah. Danny Trejo, always a delightful actor to see, whether on screen or voice acting, just, yeah. And isn't that cool? Because Danny Trejo voices a relative of Bender's. And by the way, the character of Doblando, his name, just by Dobla, yeah, I think, is actually, in English, it's Fold. Now, if you know, you know. That's very clever. Also, because, like, the detail, like, an interesting detail on Doblando is that, the coloring, of the silver and such, you know, of his robotic body, it got tanned and such because of the Mexican sun heat. That's really cool. But yeah, so, again, Bender reconnecting with his Mexican routes and, meeting with his fellow family members who are Mexican. And, yeah, in fact, because we also have Sabrina Rodriguez being voiced by Diana Elizabeth Torres, and also the grandmother robot, again, one of Bender's family members, and where, you know, we get the mention and, you know, talk more about, say, Bender's mother, and in case you remember, Bender's mother was a robotic arm. That's it. So it's a nice other mention of Bender's mother. Yeah. Okay, and some of the other characters that we get, because as I already mentioned, Sabrina Rodriguez, and we also have. We have a billionaire bot and Dwight Conrad. Yeah, because the characters that are voiced by Phil Lamar as well as Herms and Mandy. Obviously, yeah, one of the children of Amy and Kith. And we also have Ron Whitey, Ron Whitey appearing, and Smitty. Yeah, because Smitty and Earl, they make an appearance at some point in the episode. And yeah, like in Season 11, Kevin Michael Richardson voicing, now the new voice, I should say, of Earl. Which, I mean, how can you not love Kevin Michael Richardson? And he's acceptable. He's totally acceptable being the new voice of Earl, because if you know, you know. So, yeah. And while Bender is spending some time with his family members in Mexico, well, Fry, Leela, Farnsworth, and Zoidberg, well, they at one point plan on breaking into the Museum of Modern Arts to take back Bender's NFT collection. Even Farnsworth, he built a model, and to, figure out exactly, and knowing the various parts of the building, of the museum, where they're at, and how they can break in and take down the security systems and such, even by switching the security cameras, where the cameras are, they're shooting the model. That's very clever, so, and, just pretty funny with, Farnsworth just going through and analyzing, how they're going to break their way in and the various parts of the museum, just, yeah. But with coming back to Bender, because the more he interacts with his family members who are Mexican, and again, the mentioning of his mother, and also this ancient bead necklace, which had been in the family for generations and being a very prominent part at some point in the episode. And also, we have Mrs. Stror, however her name's pronounced, being voiced by Tress MacNeille. Also, yeah, Maurice LaMarche voicing Axel, and Rodriguez Robot, and there's a robot toucan that appears while in Mexico. And to speed things up some, because, yeah, Doblando, showing Bender around the place, and how the robots, they live in this very ancient village, which had always been like that for generations and years. And there's one game that Bender notices, and being a very ancient game, which did exist, where you kick the ball and it goes through this hoop, and I'm sure, of course, you would know what this is. And quite a very heavy ball for the robots, the type of ball that they use. But eventually, Bender and Dublando, they would be a part of this game where they would try to kick the ball into the hoop. And also, because, there's the referee bot that being voiced by Carlos Alarzangi. You know who I'm talking about, just, again, you know me sometimes. So then playing the game, and, we do see at one point that Dublando did this on purpose, trip and miss kicking the balls, so then Bender kicks the ball straight into the hoop, and yeah, he got it, he won. And not to mention that there was a bit of a 3D animation, with Bender spinning a little. That's really cool, and we've seen that before where there would be some 3D animation shots of Bender, that's really cool. So Bender won the championship. However, his family, especially Dublando, tricked Bender into winning, and because he won, he has to sacrifice himself. Golly. I should have seen that coming because, stuff like that has happened before, even because in some shows or movies, you get what I'm saying? The ultimate sacrifice, ugh, man. So Bender being sacrificed, they kick him off this cliff and just, yeah. But thankfully, he does survive. It's pretty funny, when he was trying to find his arms, out popped skeleton hands, but no, he just popped them out, and thus his robotic hands popped out. And he discovers this cave where these robotic ancient emperors reside. We have the ancient emperor being voiced by Gabriel Romero, and ancient empress also being voiced by Diana Elizabeth Torres. And we learn more about, say, those ancient beads, and, Bender realizing, of course, that the ancient bead necklace that he was wearing, and which came, his mother wore that bead necklace. It can be used in order to take back his NFT collection photos and such. And it was pretty funny because, sacrificing the necklace, but yeah, he takes it back and he steals it, and the Emperor and Empress, ancient robots, they're unable to stop him, but yeah. And also, that's the last we see of Bender's robotic Mexican family. It makes you wonder, did they find out and did they eventually know because that he didn't die because of the sacrifice? I guess, but yeah. And coming back to the Planet Express crew, because when they make their way into the museum, they jump from the Planet Express ship and they make their way down on top of the rooftop, making their way inside and trying to take down the security systems, and with the help of Zoidberg. And they think that they eventually, in the end, managed to take back, and steal back, I should say, all of the NFT collection photos of Bender. But nope, they still didn't, and like what the kid characters specifically say to them. But when Bender, he does eventually come back, and all that he learned, reconnecting to the routes of, his family members in Mexico, yeah, and by using the ancient bead necklace in order to take back the NFT collection of his. Well, that still doesn't happen, and what happened in the end was he bought the NFT Hall of Fame, and I think for that, the museum or something, and, he's okay with it in the end, especially since it's also mentioned that his NFT collection reminded him of his family members from Mexico. They remind him of him. So yeah, but overall, the first episode of season 12 of Futurama, the One Amigo, that was a pretty good one, and yeah, so far a good start to the new season of Futurama. Yeah, just overall, I quite enjoyed this, and hey, any of us that would love an episode of Futurama that centers on our favorite bending robot. Okay, so now let's come to episode 2, Quid Games. Okay, so, description / the story. Bizarre aliens force the crew to reenact all the classic children's games Fry played at his eight fingers, I was trying to, okay, 8th birthday party, except this time they are played to the death. Okay, now this was another pretty good one, and well, like I said, I think with the first episode and with this, so far off to a good start with season 12 of Futurama. So, this game, and actually it didn't really occur to me until as of now, now that I'm reviewing this, where this is basically Futurama's own take on the Squid Game, from Netflix. But of course, with Squid Game being Futuramanized. But at the same time, I was getting somewhat a bit of Star Trek vibes. What, didn't you? Because, Star Trek itself had done this before multiple times, and so did Futurama when they did that one episode where, the Futurama characters interact with the original series cast members, and where they're on this planet and they're forced by this alien, cosmic cloud to do these things and such. So, yeah. So, with this episode, yeah, it was pretty great. And this being another episode of Futurama, and in the new seasons where we get another flashback story of Fry during his childhood and when he was with his family, his parents, just, yeah. And with what goes on in this episode, well, in the time and setting of episode 2, Fry's birthday has arrived, and man, they crammed in a lot of characters for this episode. Yeah, you know this too. Like, everybody's there. Even, golly, because who'd have thought, because, we would have, like, say, Captain, Zap Brannigan, and of course Smitty's there, of course Professor Farnsworth, Dr. Zoidberg, and the other characters, because we have Hattie McDougal and Torgana Monday, Dr. Sawhill, Mrs. Fry, and, because never knowing Fry's mother's name, not even in this episode. Yeah. And even Leela's parents and grandmother are there. Bleck's wife, Petunia, the Gypsy Bot, and Kif being there, of course, Bleck, the Hyper Chicken, that speaks like Foghorn Leghorn. I say, boy. And also Amy's parents being there, Scruffy, Torgan Morris, I'll mention him a little later. Leg Mutant. Does anybody remember Leg Mutant being there too? Just a lot of characters that are here, even like, say, La Barbara Conrad and Smitty and Earl, as I said, and Bardodo Slim. Yeah, I think I said that right. And also Hermes' wife, just... yeah. So everybody that managed to squeeze their way into the Planet Express, wishing Fry a happy birthday, and well, and out of nowhere, because they would find themselves being, forced to crash down on this planet, and, because what would happen to them is that Fry, he's the first one that flies out of the Planet Express ship, and like a teardropper, or just something like a sweat drop, touches the planet, and it creates this illusion, like basically recreating his house from his childhood and such, his family's house. And, well, when all of them enter inside, because we see everything being set up, which is, Fry's 8th birthday, and, well, the flashbacks we would get of Fry, when his birthday's being thrown, he's his 8th birthday party, and a bunch of his friends that have attended, including Josh Gedge, whom also being voiced by David Herman. I don't remember Josh Gedge that much from the past seasons of Futurama, but obviously you do. But but Josh Gedge, he most prominently was Fry's rival and such in school. And in this episode, we see, and it's established, that there was a time where both Fry and Josh were the best of friends. But, well, what is to happen And through these various flashbacks that Fry has of what happened on his 8th birthday, well, this is where we would see why they would become rivals and stuff like that. Just, yeah. So, the Futurama characters, they are greeted by these 3 gamester aliens. Gamester alien number 1 being voiced by Maurice LaMarche. Gamester alien number 2, D. Bradley Baker. How did I not realize that was his voice? Because how can you not recognize a voice like D. Bradley Baker? Seriously. And okay, yes, because I knew one of them, I knew that had to be his voice as well. Yeah, Gamester Alien number 3 is SpongeBob himself, Tom Kenny. So I knew that I'd recognize Tom's voice, but how did I not recognize, like, say, well, I'm sure I did. I realized that one of them was Maurice LaMarche, but D. Bradley Baker? No, I didn't. So yeah, again, these 3 Gamester aliens that pop in, they're responsible for this illusion and recreating Fry's house with his 8th birthday, and they're having all of the characters to play these various games, but the twist is that they're going to play the games to the death. So yeah, and yeah, because the various games that were played on Fry's 8th birthday, and as we see through the flashbacks, because, like, you know, one where, like, they're doing Barrel of Monkeys, or Fry blowing out all of the 8 candles in one breath, or say Pin the Tail on the Donkey, and a bunch of others. Just yeah, but for this and what the Gamester aliens do to them, just the total opposite. They're death-threatening, because with the whole Barrel Monkeys thing, everybody has to hold on to one another, and, you know, hopefully they don't fall into this chemical liquid that's, you know, acid and such. But according to the Gamester aliens, it's far more worse than, say, just, like, acid. Like, it will burn them literally man of seconds, just, yeah. And, well, unfortunately, and, like, when they try to figure out how they're going to escape this, well, eventually and unfortunately, one of, you know, a batch of characters meet their demise, you know, getting burned to a crisp, you know, just, you know, being melted by acid. Sadly, even Leela's parents. That's unfortunate. But there's no way, of course, that they're gonna die. Obviously, like, whatever the Gamester aliens are gonna do, they're gonna come back to life when all of this is over. Okay, and to speed things up some, because, yeah, like in the other games that they would play, like, yeah, another one where they basically have to find a couple of baseballs that are hiding around, like, say, the kitchen and such. There's that, and again, Fry supposed to blow out all 8 candles in one breath, and again, and with the various flashbacks, how slowly but surely many of Fry's friends, including Josh, well, believing that Fry is cheating. And Fry establishes that never once in his life did he ever cheat. For Fry, man, because he just, especially on his birthday, just turned out to be very lucky and not cheating and, well, of course not, but not losing at any games and always winning. Yeah, just pure luck. Like, Fry never had intentionally meant for this to happen, but not to his friends, and if only they had realized that he wasn't joking around about that. Yeah, that he wasn't cheating and such. So, yeah, because with, like, finding the baseballs and, you know, even, like, say, some of the characters, including Leela, they're very upset by what is happening, each of them being killed, and those that they lost to the other games, and how the 3 Gamester aliens are running this. Oh, not to mention that the 3 Gamester aliens, they're wearing special, like, party masks. And we do get one quick moment where we see what their eyes look like, but yeah. And do they not look like maybe they'd be, like, some kind of, like, specific, like, alien-looking creature in Star Trek? Again, this episode giving us some Star Trek vibes, not just the Squid Game. But anyways, so, you know, Fry, as much as he would hate to cheat, like, you know, for one, like, a few times, yeah, he feels as though that, he should cheat, and because of what's going on. But yeah, like, again, when it comes to finding the baseballs and one that's hidden in the refrigerator, and in the flashbacks, well, Josh, he looked thoroughly through that refrigerator, and he couldn't find the baseball, but Fry did, and yeah, and especially up to there, that's where Josh really starts to get aggravated, and again, thinking that Fry is cheating. And then when it would come to, like, say, pin the tail on the donkey, and even by this point, all of the other characters, they've met their demise, they've lost the games, and even, like, say, like, when it came to Fry blowing out the 8 birthday candles, it would cause Zoidberg to be caught on fire and burned to a crisp. Jeez. And, sadly for Leela and some of the others, they would get killed as well, and the only ones remaining, and whom would play the final game, would be, say, Fry, Hattie MacDougal, that lady that Tress MacNeille voices, and Bender. They're the only ones left. Even Bender then starts to think that Fry is cheating, and yeah. And when it comes to the whole pin the tail on the donkey game, well, it's not just your typical average pin the tail on the donkey game. No, an actual legitimate donkey emerges, which being a donkey monster. And D. Bradley Baker is also credited for voicing the donkey monster. With no tail, you literally have to pin the tail into the donkey and just, yeah, crazy. And Fry, because he sacrifices, in fact, a new rule they put into the pin the tail on the donkey thing, provided by the Gamester aliens, is literally taking out their eyeballs. Literally. And it doesn't hurt for either one of them. And Bender, well, this isn't the first time that his eyes would be knocked out of his, his eyeballs would be knocked out. Just, what I'm saying? So, with all of them having their eyes taken out of them, disturbing, but, it's not gross or anything like that. Yeah, because with the game proceeding, and eventually it seems as though that, yeah, Fry had won the pin the tail on the donkey game, and this would cause, at one point, this would cause Hattie to be eaten alive by the donkey monster, and even Fry, he accidentally pinned the tail to Bender, causing him to die, and just, yeah. But luckily, Hattie, she actually got vomited out of the donkey monster, and she accidentally pinned the tail on Fry, but then pinning the tail on the donkey himself. Just, yeah. Yeah, pinning the tail on the donkey itself, I should say. Yeah, she did it, and, well, it turns out that, yeah, she won the game, and just, yeah. And after all that time, well, the Gamester aliens, they bring everyone back to life. They have a specific system where they can easily bring back all of those that played the games. They can be brought back to life. And after that, the Gamester aliens, they disembark, and as if nothing really ever happened, like, just, yeah, they can go on with their merry lives, and, yeah. And coming back to the flashback some more, because, yeah, unfortunately at a certain point, and after, especially, with Pin the Tail on the Donkey, that's when Josh and a lot of Fry's friends, they're really upset with him, thinking that he did cheat, but he didn't. And if only they really realized, and not being so stupid, just, yeah, stupid by the head, you get what I'm saying, immature and such. But, yeah. And, yeah, that would be the beginning where Josh and Fry, they would no longer be friends, and from there on, and as we've seen in the past seasons of Futurama, whenever we had seen a flashback story / episode of Fry when he was a child with his parents, yeah. But anyway, so after all that, Fry, feeling guilty about this, and just telling them that he never cheated, but even when he had to at that moment with what the Gamester aliens were doing and how intense these games were getting. And from Leela and the others, they believe in him. They know he didn't cheat. And even when Fry, because he had to cheat, and because, with how much he, on and off, he loves Leela, when that was brought up earlier, that was sweet and nice, but just, yeah. Man, what an episode this was. Getting another episode that centers on another flashback story of Fry during his childhood with his parents in the 20th century, and where we get to see where he and Josh, they used to be the best of buds, but when we see that they no longer are, the Gamester aliens, what they do to these characters, whole vibes of Squid Game and Star Trek, the various dangerous birthday party games that they do, but even after all that, they still are okay, they survive, they're brought back to life, and yeah, again, obviously, they wouldn't be killed off. Just, yeah, whatever the Gamester aliens were gonna do to bring them all back to life, well, we saw them doing so. But yeah, just, overall, episode 2, Quids Game. It was another pretty good episode, and this being the second episode of Season 12 of Futurama. Yeah, another good one. And like I said, Season 12, for me, off to a good start. Yeah. So yeah, just, overall, episodes 1 and 2 of Season 12 of Futurama, they were pretty good. A good start so far to the new season of Futurama, what each of them had to offer. With episode 1 centering on Bender, we get more of, say, Bender and his origins and with his family connection, him having another crisis, and in episode 2, getting another flashback story with young Fry and his parents, and this is where we would see him and Josh used to being the best of buds, and with the Gamester aliens, all the various dangerous birthday party games that they do, what the 2 episodes had to offer with their stories, what goes on with each of the characters, and the funny moments, the emotional moments, great animation, of course, just, yeah, overall, the first 2 episodes of Season 12 of Futurama, not a disappointment at whatsoever, and again, Season 12, off to a good start. Yeah, so, yeah, just again, the first 2 episodes, fantastic. The One Amigo and Quids Game. And what about you guys? What did you think of the first 2 episodes of Season 12 of Futurama themselves? How have you liked Season 12? And, even with the first 2 episodes of Season 12, do you think that, yeah, off to a great start with Season 12? Which were your favorite episodes with the first 2 episodes of Season 12? And, for the entirety of Season 12, yeah, which were some of your favorite episodes? And with, with episodes 1 and 2, what was going on in each of them with the characters, their storyline, just, yeah. Overall, what do you think of episodes 1 and 2 of Season 12 of Futurama themselves? And with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review, my Part 1 review of episodes 1 and 2 of Season 12 of Futurama? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of, my Part 1 review, I should say, of Season 12 of Futurama. Episode 1, The One Amigo, and Episode 2, Quids Game. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, my review of Season 12 of Futurama has just begun, so stay tuned for my Part 2 review, where I will be reviewing episodes, 3, 4, and 5. Yep. Take care, and peace out. Bender.